The Joe Rogan Experience.
While I was playing music, actually, I turned the studio certain nights a week into a little poker room. So I'd have like friends over and we'd play cards at the house. But while I was touring, I eventually decided, because when I decided to stop going to school, I said to myself, if the music thing doesn't work, I'm going to go to sushi school. So the music thing did work, and a couple years went by, and actually my godmother owned a catering company. And so in between tours, I didn't really want to keep working at like Jamba Juice or Starbucks or anything like that. And so I asked her if I could work for her. And so I invited her over to the house. I cooked dinner for her, and she said, well, I'll introduce you to my chef. And if my chef wants to hire you, then you'll be hired. And so I went to her catering company, met the chef. The first thing was like, okay, you're making family meal today. And so I cooked for the whole staff, and she said, I'll hire you as a dishwasher.
Oh, Jesus.
And
was that because that was the only job they had available?
Looking back at it, I was offended and angry, but I didn't care because of what she said after that, which is you don't get to start being a cook. You have to start as a dishwasher so you can have respect for what it is that the dishwashers do. And she said, here's how this works. The faster you clean that dish pit, the more I'll teach you. So whenever that dish pit's clean, you come and find me and I'll give you a task. But if there's ever any dishes, that's what you're doing. So it kind of gave me that bit of work ethic of like, all right, I'm going to work my way into that next position.
That seems to be a theme with great restaurants. And when you talk to chefs, this work ethic theme, because it seems like when you talk to people that have worked in restaurants, one of the things that they will almost unanimously discuss is the amount of hours and the grind and how difficult it is.
Yeah.
And that development of work ethic almost is like kind of a boot camp for chefs.
It is. It's it's not so much anymore. Laws have changed, culture has changed, but it was, you're spending like a 16-hour day was not even a really long day.
I dated a girl once who went to college for restaurant and hotel management, and then she got a job at this restaurant, and I remember I would go visit her, and she was fucking miserable. I mean, miserable. She couldn't believe the hours that she had to work.
But you have to love it.
Yeah,
that's an industry you have to love.
Well, she just wanted a career. She had went to school, she graduated from school, and then she had this job that was like, and then she had this boyfriend who was a fuck up, who was a comedian. So it was like very, very weird for her because like I had most of my day completely free. And she was working, 14, 15 hours a day at least.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where if you really want to take food seriously and cooking seriously, you're going to have to, make a lot of sacrifices.
Yeah. The time.
Mm-hmm. You're not there for birthdays. You're not there for anniversaries. You're not there for Valentine's Day for sure.
Because you have to work.
Because you have to work.
Day.
Yeah. Because someone has to cook at all those restaurants you go to.
Yeah. Yeah, people listening, if you are thinking of going down this path, prepare yourself.
Yeah, it's a fantastic path, but you have to understand what it's like. And I think the reason it worked for me, or the reason I loved it so much, is it really felt like being on tour, except I got to sleep in my own bed.
How's that?
Well, like playing music, you spend all day getting ready for the show that night. And there's something to getting to the restaurant and prepping all day, getting ready for the show that night. And so I feel like the camaraderie of being on it, like being in a crew, is a lot like being in a band. The hours are a lot like being in a band. And then the shenanigans, after hours, are a lot like being in a band.
The boozing, is that what you're talking about? Yeah. That's the other thing that I learned from Bourdain. I didn't know how hard people partied.
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, there was a lot of nights you just don't go to sleep. You just get out of the restaurant at 1:30 in the morning, you go to the bar, then you go somewhere else, then you go back and open the restaurant the next day.
That doesn't seem good for you.
No, it's terrible. I had to, and
that's where the Red Bull comes in?
Well, no, I quit Red Bull earlier than that, but thankfully I never got into drugs, so it wasn't that. But I would drink a lot, and I actually had one time where I finished service, took 2 steps, and just collapsed, just hit the ground.
Whoa!
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
At the end of the day,
you pulled an all-nighter?
I think 2 or 3 days in a row. Yeah.
Oh Jesus!
But I was like 21.
2 or 3 days of no sleep?
At 21.
Yeah.
Maybe like an hour and a half sleep here and there.
Jesus.
But yeah, I mean, when I my first sous chef job, I was on the schedule. It said next to my name, all 7 days said OP-CL. Open to close. Whoa. We did breakfast and we did dinner service. So I would open the restaurant at about 7 a.m. and I would leave around 1:32.
So when you open the restaurant at 7 a.m., what time are you actually arriving?
Man, this was this was a long time ago, but I probably was getting there. I was probably getting there around 6:45, 7. When I say open, I mean I would get to the restaurant, open the door, not that we were like,
so there
open
was
to
someone
public.
there that was already prepping.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because we were at this in this sort of like the restaurant was a lunch and dinner restaurant, but we served breakfast and as like a commissary to like there was like it was like in a building complex. So I really wasn't responsible for breakfast. So there would be I think there was people there before I would get there.
Building like an office building complex. Is that what
Yeah,
you mean?
yeah.
So they would just grab something quick.
Yeah,
that kind of deal.
Yeah, like so I would get in there and the dishwasher would already like be making like ham and cheese sandwiches or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
and so you were there from 7 a.m. and then what time would you get out of there?
Usually, I mean, probably 1:30.
And nowadays with labor laws, you really couldn't schedule that, right?
Well, I was on salary.
Oh, interesting.
But that salary would have to be 3x at this point.
Yeah.
Because now they've changed the rule a couple years ago. Salary is no longer a contract between you and I. Salaries have to fall into you have to qualify. So you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to not give you overtime by giving you a salary to have you work when I ask you to.
Right.
Now you have to pay everybody a specific dollar amount, and they have to hold specific responsibilities in order to not accrue overtime.
Yeah, I think that's good because I think there's a lot of employers that are abusive. But I also think there's something romantic about this story of you almost dying. You know what I mean? I mean, like, I do appreciate, like, long, hard work days. There's something to that because, like, I hear that, and I know you got through it, and you became very successful. So I'm like, see, it works.
Look, when I think Margarita and my first date was at that restaurant, and it was, I mean, people ask me all the time, how did you get her? And it's food. It has to be.
That's hilarious. Well, you're a cool guy. Don't sell yourself short. And plus, you're kind of cute.
Oh, appreciate it.
Jamie?
I'm top 3 in this room for sure.
Top 3. I'd say so.
But so because of that schedule, I couldn't take her on a date. And so I remember the very first date we had was at the restaurant. I told her to show up at 12:30 after I sent everybody home. And I had spent all day secretly prepping a special menu, and she showed up, and I sat her in the dining room that like overlooked the kitchen, and I would make a course, bring it out to her, sit down with her, have a sip of wine, and then go back in the kitchen, make the next course.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What did you think she did during the time where you were in there cooking?
Well, I told her to bring a friend with her because I told her that I'm going to, otherwise she's there for 20 minutes in between each course.
Well, listen, man, that's a clever move.
Look, it worked.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, I would imagine that that's probably one of the most difficult occupations to date in.
Yeah. I sacrificed a lot of relationships prior to that one.
Yeah, I can only imagine.